Very exciting news. I got to go to the classroom yesterday and get some things. And one of the things I got was our book, The Chocolate Touch. We were reading this in class before spring break. And since we can't go back to school, I thought it would be nice to read the rest of it because hopefully some kids were interested in it and want to know how it ends. Where we left off was that John was at his friend Susan's birthday party and they were bobbing for apples. And when he put his face in the water, everything turned to chocolate. It says, Mrs. Buttercup offered to clean John up, but he couldn't bear to stay at the party another minute. He started off at once for home. Chapter 10, For Sale. Dragging along and thinking of all the dreadful things that had happened, John walked about halfway home when he heard the cheery voice of his father. "Hello, hello," called Mr. Midas, crossing over from the other side of the street. He was on his way home from the station. "You left the party rather early, didn't you?" "What?" Mr. Midas had just seen the patches and streaks of chocolate that were drying on John's face and on his clothes. "Good gracious," he said. "No wonder you left the party early. How did that happen?" John burst into tears. It had all been so awful, but now he could tell his father about his terrible day. He stopped crying and only sniffed just a little now and then as he told the whole story about taking the coin to the candy store, about buying the box that had turned out to have only one chocolate in it, about the toothpaste, about breakfast, the gloves, the silver dollar, the pencil, the lunch, the trumpet, and finally, the apple dunking water. "You mean to tell me they really all turned to chocolate?" Mr. Midas asked. "You're sure you didn't imagine some of this?" "Oh, no," John assured him. "Well," Mr. Midas said, still looking doubtful, "we're only a couple blocks from that candy store of yours. Not that I've ever noticed one there. Suppose we'll stroll over and ask the man whether his chocolates always do strange things to people." "It's on the next corner," John said, recognizing some of the houses on the side street. "Not the next house, not the next house, not the next house," he said. "But—" John's voice faded into silence. The corner where he had found the candy store was nothing now but an empty lot. Flat, open ground littered with a pile of rusty tin cans and broken bottles around a splintery old sign saying, "For sale." Said Mr. Midas, frowning anxiously at John. "I think we'd better pay a visit to Dr. Cranium before we go home." "That's where the store was, though," John protested, beginning to cry again. He had shed more tears in that one day, it seemed, and certainly eaten more chocolate than in all the other days in his life put together. "I know it was." Dr. Cranium was a busy man. As luck would have it, however, he was able to see Mr. Midas and John almost at once. "Well, well, well, well," said Dr. Cranium. "And how are we getting along now, John? Have we cut down on our candy, eh?" "How do you do?" John responded dully. "Apparently he's had a bad day, Dr. Cranium," Mr. Midas said. "Trouble at school, you know, and a little accident at a birthday party. What I'm worried about is that he keeps saying everything he puts in his mouth turns to chocolate." "No more than a nursery fantasy, I'm sure," Dr. Cranium said to Mr. Midas. "Well, John," he went on, looking down with a smile, "suppose you tell me in your own words what the matter seems to be." "Everything I put into my mouth turns to chocolate," John explained. "Everything I eat and everything I drink changes into chocolate. I'm thirsty and I'm getting a pain, a bad one, I think." Dr. Cranium sighed patiently and invited John to open his mouth and say, "Ah." "Ah," John said. Dr. Cranium peered into John's mouth briefly and gave a low whistle of surprise. "This chocolate eating must simply stop." He went to his supply cabinet. "I don't think there's any time to be lost," he told Mr. Midas. "I'm going to give the boy some of my own special compound. Dr. Cranium's elixir, I call it. Never fails." Dr. Cranium selected a large bottle from one of the cabinet's crowded shelves. He removed the top from the bottle, got a spoon from another shelf, filled the spoon with an oily greenish-yellow medicine that had yellowish-reddish lights glinting in it. "It doesn't taste very pleasant," Dr. Cranium warned John, "but I'm sure it'll do the trick. Clear the stomach and clear your mind. That's what I always say." Dr. Cranium offered John the brimful spoon. "Must I?" John asked his father. "I know it'll turn into chocolate." "Go on," Mr. Midas noddingly encouraged. "Drink it down." Does it look like he liked it very much? Probably not. John took the spoon between his lips. The medicine turned to chocolate. The spoon turned to chocolate. John choked and spluttered, and chocolate syrup spurted from his mouth. Dr. Cranium dropped the spoon in alarm. When it struck the white tiled floor, the chocolate handle snapped into several pieces. "Mercy!" said Dr. Cranium. "I've never seen anything like it. The boy's whole system seems to be so chocolatified that it chocolatifies everything it touches." After he had recovered somewhat, the doctor went on. "I believe that this must be an unprecedented case of, chocolatitis. I shall call it Cranium's disease. I want to make an exhaustive study of the child." I think John has had enough excitement for one day," Mr. Midas said.